Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for participating in this webinar with us. My name is Meredith Call, and I serve as the Director for Parent and Family Services. I want to thank you so much for taking some time this Thursday afternoon, especially since it is around lunchtime for some of you, to come and participate in this webinar that we have created about furthering your students' career goals over the summer. We have I've worked with our Office of Career and Professional Development to come over and share with you some various tips and sources in order to help keep both you and your students kind of moving forward, and then from your perspective, ways that you can kind of help your student moving forward. So Elizabeth Simmons, which is our Associate Director for Career and Professional Development, is going to be here to kind of talk to you about this session. And so some of the topic areas I know she's going to be covering are going to be the services and opportunities that are available within our Career and Professional Development Office, and she'll really kind of talk you through what that looks like. Specifically what not family members, you know what you're looking for in your student, but what employers rather are looking for from students as they're graduating and going into the workforce. And how you can, again, help get your students to those points. And then how you support and encourage your student along the way, whether it is over the summer or moving forward to getting them to that point of graduation. And then ultimately how they can utilize this summer to make sure that they are moving forward on that career path, either figuring out what it is or getting experiences so that they can be successful within their area of career that they're moving forward and towards. So there's a lot of really great information that we want to be able to share with you. But before we get started, I want to go ahead and give you a couple of quick pieces of information about just how this session will run. We will have an opportunity for questions, but before we get to that point, please make sure if by any chance that you have not muted yourself or you don't see where you have been muted, that you mute yourself. Otherwise, you potentially heard just a second ago where I had you get a reverb kind of scenario that happens, and so I want everyone to have a clear hearing opportunity. So since I do have everyone muted, the opportunity for you to ask questions is still available. On the lower, very bottom part of the GoToTraining toggle bar, there is a chat function. And so if you will use that function to put any questions or statements or anything along those lines out there, and then we will address those questions to make sure that you leave today with as much information as you possibly can about the services and programs that are available on our campus, as well as how you can make an impact on your student as they start moving forward to that ultimate goal that I know you're all looking forward to, which is that idea of getting them gainful employment. So with all of that being said, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Elizabeth to kind of walk you through all of her areas of expertise.
Mm-hmm. Hi, everyone. I'm so glad to join our UAB families today to talk about supporting your student as they start developing themselves for a career after UAB. Obviously, that's what we do here at UAB Career and Professional Development. So I'm going to start out, and I'm just going to tell you a little bit about our office. Your student definitely gets emails from us, and a lot of them probably have already visited us, and we are located in the Hill Student Center, and we're a group of professionals who are dedicated to helping our students achieve their professional goals while they're here at UAB and after. We also serve UAB alums. So as you can see from this slide, this is just a brief list of some of the things that we do in our office. Our main thing that we do is we do one-on-one appointments with students, and these are student-led, which means that the student gets to decide what they want, what they want help with. And of course, a lot of students come in for resume reviews and interview preparation. Those are the main things that our students come in for, but we also help students look for jobs, help them brainstorm about different career paths. We also are the office that holds all the great career fairs. So if your student has talked about going to a career fair, that is something that we provide for our students. We bring employers on campus for a lot of different ways. We have employer information sessions, industry panels. All of these things are meant to bring our students and employers who are interested in hiring UAB students together. So one side of our office is really dedicated to developing our students and supporting them and helping them get what they need from us. And then we also are bringing employers in to meet them. So from the very beginning of the time that your student is here, if they are just looking for a work-study position or a part-time job on campus, we can support them with that, all the way through getting those more advanced internships later on in their careers, and right before they graduate. We're getting really excited right now. We've got a lot of students about to graduate, so obviously we're supporting a lot of students as they're looking for that first entry-level position. I always like to pull up this slide whenever I'm talking to students or parents because it's important for us to understand that at our office, what we're doing is we're trying to prepare students with all of those skills that employers need outside of a degree. So we know that all of our employers want a degree, and that's why we've got our students here at UAB, and that's why they came, to get that degree. But our employers are telling us they also want a lot of these soft skills. And that's where all of these experiences we're going to talk about for a summer can really help supplement your students' experiences, skills that they can put on a resume and talk about in an interview. So this is from a survey that's done by the National Association of Colleges and Employers, and every year they ask employers to say, what are you looking for on a student's resume when they graduate from college? And as you can see, the things that are very important to employers are things like teamwork, problem solving, communication, work ethic, leadership, initiative. All of those are the kinds of things that our employers are really, really focused on. So what we emphasize with students is you absolutely have to do very well in your studies and get great grades and be involved on campus, but you also have to demonstrate these kinds of skills in order to be successful on the job market before you leave.
Elizabeth, if I'm not mistaken,
Mm-hmm.
there was also a component of this where students sometimes have an elevated sense of that they have these skills.
Absolutely.
And the employers are...
You're right. Meredith is pointing out that there's definitely a lot of evidence that students believe that they are prepared in these particular skill sets, whereas employers report that they believe that students who are coming out of college are less prepared than the students themselves believe themselves to be. So it's really important that students are actively cultivating these skills throughout their time in college. Great question. Yes. So I guess at the end of the day, employers expect those skills, but they also expect experience. And experience means a lot of things. Your student does not necessarily have to be employed in their field of study from the time they start college to the time they get out. You build experience over time. And that's why summer is so important, because all of these things I've got on this slide, internships, co-ops, part-time work, volunteer, research, student organizations, all of those things are things that can happen during the year, but we know that a lot of times the summer is where our students are focusing on getting those experiences and those skills, because a lot of times during the school year, they're focusing on being very successful in their schoolwork. So let us talk about what families can do to help. Being in career and professional development, I can say that families are often our best partners when it comes to helping our students understand the importance of gaining the skills and experiences that they need outside of the classroom to be competitive. Because most of you are employed and you understand that in order to get hired, you can't just have that degree. So I'm going to take the next few slides to talk about some of the things that we suggest that families do to support their students. And some of this may vary a little bit. It depends on what stage your student is in. So your freshmen are going to have different, your rising sophomores are going to have different needs and expectations than your rising seniors. But we'll talk through some of that, and I'll always be happy to answer questions at the end. Okay, so the first thing that our families can do is emphasize that our summer breaks are opportunities to gain really, really critical experience. So all the things, the part-time jobs, the counseling, volunteering, research, any of the things that your students are going to do, you just need to make sure that they're doing something, especially if they're not taking any classes or their class loads are low. A lot of times students will definitely feel tired and they will need a break. All of us need a break. But just know that a lot of students are getting very critical experiences and gaining those leadership skills, those communication and teamwork and initiative skills that employers are looking for over the summer. And to not do anything at all is definitely going to be a competitive disadvantage. So you need to make sure it fits in with what your student needs and what they can really handle over the summer, but something is going to be better than nothing just about all the time. The second thing we really encourage you to do is to get them to tap into the campus resources that they have right here before they leave. So especially if they're going to be leaving campus and going home or going somewhere else for the summer, we want them to be able to take advantage of what we have right here before they go. So I encourage you, and I've got our website up there, and you'll get access to this afterwards too. Go to our website with your student and look at all the things that we have. It's going to give you a great overview of all the services that we have. It'll give them information on how to make an appointment with us. We even have a career closet, so students who, if they have an interview and they need something professional to wear, they can borrow clothes from us. There's also a lot of online information, so they can read our career guide, which has tips on interviewing. So if they don't want to come into our office for any reason, or they're super busy, a lot of the information that they need is already on that website. And finally, the best thing they can probably do is come into our office and talk to one of our staff members through a one-on-one appointment or on our walk-in hours, which are on our website also. So make sure that they have the phone number and email for us. Ask them if they say, oh, I need to get my resume together. Ask them if they've come to see someone in our office. Have you gone to Career and Professional Development? Have you called Career and Professional Development? If they say they can't find a summer job, have you gone to Career and Professional Development? So you can be a partner in helping them tap into this resource that, quite frankly, they're already paying for. And it's something that can really help. I do want to point out that we do have students who are undecided. A lot of the students at UAB are very, very secure in their ideas about what they're going to do. But if you have an undecided student, a summer is a great time for students to really explore, especially after that first year of coming into their second year. If they're still undecided, we do encourage you to support your student in helping them explore their options. So some of those options are informational interviews. Informational interviews are when you essentially go and you visit a professional and you talk to them about their career path and ask questions about their jobs and industries. Job shadowing, following a professional around for a day and seeing what it's like to do their job, or even volunteering. There's a lot of places, especially if your student is interested in clinical work, nurse, doctor, being a physician's assistant, anything like that. Volunteering at a hospital can give them a lot of great experience. And as a partner, as a family member, you can share contacts with your student. So if they say, oh, I think I'm interested in being a lawyer, they can come to our office and we can help them do that too. But if you know someone, you can share your contacts with them and really encourage them to start trying a few things out. And that's a great experience also for our students. And it helps them narrow some things down a lot of times. Another thing is to help students connect what they're doing now to their future work. We do know that a lot of students, and I did this myself, are not necessarily going to be doing summer work that's directly related to their field. Sometimes they're just trying to get some of that extra money, maybe to go on fall break or spring break next year. And so maybe they're working part-time at the water park or even waiting tables or something like that. They're still building all of those skill sets through those jobs that employers are expecting. But sometimes they're not actually connecting the ideas and the concepts of what they're doing at work with what they want to do in the future. So you will get these slides, and you will have these slides available, and you can look at those competencies and say, hey, I heard that you had a really great day at work and you delivered some really great customer service. That really showed initiative. That's a story that you could tell in an interview about how you demonstrate initiative in the workplace. So helping them talk about how this isn't just for money, but how they're building those skill sets and competencies for their future work is a really great way to just keep that conversation going. Again, another thing you can do, is there a question, Meredith? No, okay.
You're safe.
Good. Another thing you can do, say they're not doing something directly related to their future career, you can keep encouraging them to get involved in activities that are related to that future career. So sometimes, whether it's here in Birmingham or in your hometown, there are young professional groups that are specific to an industry, going to some of those events, getting involved in their industry in some small way is actually a good thing to do. Just keep doing that over the summer, not dropping off of that if that's something that they're really, really interested in. Okay, so those are the things that we really want you to do. We want you to be super encouraging and super empowering for your students. Every time I talk to families, though, I do have to mention a few things that you shouldn't do. And we do see this, which is why we want to point it out. So we want to empower our students, and we want to make sure that they're doing everything for themselves. So things that we don't want families and parents to do is things like accompanying students to job fairs, interviews, that sort of thing, calling employers and negotiating on behalf of students, or even setting up meetings with employers or contacts for your student. So if you give your student a contact for an informational interview, make sure that they're the ones who are sending that email and that initial contact. This is a professional skill that they are building, is advocating for themselves, learning how to do professional email communication to reach out to a contact. All of those things, you might be able to coach them, but make sure that they're doing it themselves. That's what we really want, because in the end, we want to encourage that independence and empower your student. We want to guide them to the tools they need to set themselves up for success. That's really what we do in our office, is really give them the tools so that they can take those tools and take them to the next level. So that's what we really know that our families are super, super good at, and a great partner. Let me see. Do I have other things? Oh, I do want to point out, so you may or may not have heard your student talk about HireBlazer. And it is an online portal. It is part of the services that we offer at UAB Career and Professional Development. And it's essentially an online job board, and it's got a lot of online tools, assessments, and things that can help your student explore different careers all in one place. It's located also on our website. They can also access this through their BlazerNet account. So that's how a lot of students get there. We usually have over 1,000 jobs, and right now I looked today and we have over 200 internships live right now inside of our system. So if your student is telling you, oh, I don't have an internship, or I don't have a part-time job, encourage them to go ahead and go on to HireBlazer and check some of those opportunities out. These are specific opportunities for UAB students, and we have relationships with these employers, so it's not like going on an Indeed. So that's something that, you know, if you tell your student, hey, there's 200 internships on HireBlazer right now, go for it. Tell them that is there for them.
For clarification point, just as a curiosity, those are both paid and unpaid internships that are posted out there.
Absolutely. There are paid and unpaid. I will say if it's going to be an unpaid internship, the best way for that to be legally kosher is for it to have some sort of academic credit tied to it. So if your student is thinking about an unpaid internship, we would encourage them to be talking to their department also about getting academic credit for that experience. So there are both paid and unpaid. There's also some volunteer opportunities in there, and there's a lot of cool opportunities. Like there's some stuff like if they want to work at Yellowstone National Park for the summer, that opportunity is in HireBlazer. So there's some very cool and interesting summer opportunities, and we just want our students to be at least checking it out and seeing what might work for them. Okay, so here we have question time. Do we have any questions, Meredith?
Well, let's see. So please feel free again, as we chatted before, if you have any questions for us, to go ahead and type those in. I think that I've thought of a couple as we were as you were going through to share. So from your experiences, either utilizing from the career fairs or just talking to employers, as a UAB student, what are some of the strengths that they're really impressed by our students of, and then where do our students, so that family members can continue to be of assistance, can continue to help build those skill sets so that they are those competitive clients?
Absolutely. That's a great question. So employers always express to us they really, really appreciate the dedication of our UAB students to their academic and career goals. So we have some very dedicated students who are very serious about their academics and where they're going. Sometimes our students lack the ability to really talk about the accomplishments that they have. So all of our students, not all of our students, but many of our students have multiple, they're a president of a student organization and doing research and doing this and doing that, but when they approach an employer, they have a really hard time talking about those accomplishments. So a lot of what we do is just coach students on how to tell their stories and connect it to something that an employer wants. So if you can have conversations with your student about how to approach an employer and how to talk about their own accomplishments, that would be great, because most of the time UAB students have the accomplishments, but they're sort of lacking the ability to be able to sell those accomplishments to an employer.
I think that's a great point. And so for family members, as they're prepping for this, is there on the not on Hire Blazer or on the CPD website, kind of I know you all have a handbook.
Yes, the career guide is on the website. So if you are looking at our website, I wish I could pull it up right now, but if you we can? Okay, yes. Let's do it.
Yes. Let's make it work.
We're going to do it.
There you go.
Okay. .edu. So the website is uab.edu/CPD. That's Career and Professional Development. So as you can see right now, we've got some hot jobs. So on our website, not only can you see our events coming up, and we've really only got one big career fair left this semester. Our students are winding down, and so are our events. But you can see we've got hot jobs. These are not all the jobs that are available. There's just a good smattering of examples. But here's a place right here at the top. If you go to Career Guide, you can see that we have a 64-page guide that's got information about just about anything that your student might want. So, for example, professional introductions on page 23. Can't go fast enough here. We've got different resources for different student populations, career tips for veterans. We've got things about gaining experience. So a lot of what I'm talking about right now, there's a lot of information on the things that students can do to gain different experiences. And you can even have your student write out their plan of action for gaining experience if you want to support your student through that. Different job shadowing, so reflections, how to do a job shadow, how to ask for job shadowing, what they should think about after job shadowing. Informational interviewing, same thing. A script, so if you're trying to prompt your student to request an interview or a job shadow experience, we've got some scripts that a student can use. Tips about internships. And then right here, this is a really great example of how you can help your students start talking about some of the things, just a very basic professional introduction. So how to walk up to an employer, say what they're doing, say what they're interested in, and ask a question. So I could go through the whole thing, but I won't because it would take too long.
So we do have a question from a family member. I'll come back with another question to that in a minute. But a question from a family member that is good is, ultimately, is it better for a student to get, when they're looking for part-time experience, to get varied experiences at different jobs, or specifically focus on one particular part-time job just for an extended period of time?
It really depends on what your student is trying to accomplish. If your student's still in the exploration stage and is using some of those jobs to explore their options, I think that that's a very valid way to do so. And one thing that different experiences gives is a lot of different skill sets. So you might, if you're working at the same place in the same setting, doing the same job for a very long time, if you're not progressing to a supervisory role or gaining new experiences, that would be the only thing that I would say would be maybe a challenge. At the same time, a lot of our employers are looking for someone who can stick with something. So we do have a lot of students who have maybe a month here or a month there. I would say you want to at least stay for a full summer, right? Or you don't necessarily have to go back every single summer, but showing that you don't start jobs and quit jobs just every month or two is definitely something that employers are looking for. So there's options for both. It's more about what is your student accomplishing in that role? Are they gaining the skills that they need? And are they still demonstrating the fact that they are committed to a particular job for enough of a time to not be a burden on their own employer?
think that's a great point. And I think this is my own personal experience that I
Mhm.
remember is that I was the student who knew what I wanted to major in and was very
Right.
confident all through college. However, I had no idea what that meant for me post-graduation.
Right.
So I took advantage of doing different internships and different jobs in multiple different areas that
Mhm.
were related back to my major or potentially other areas. And I determined very quickly not only what I wanted to do, but also just as
Oh,
importantly,
definitely.
what I didn't want to
Right.
do. And I think that that's something that a lot of students don't realize, that you can equally, even if you kind of think maybe I want to do this, then which is where I was for a lot of reasons. So like, maybe this sounds interesting.
Mhm.
And I was able to use those 3 months or whatever of an internship or a part-time job to say, this has been a great experience, but this is not what I'm going to commit
Right.
myself to professionally. And that helped out significantly for me to then ultimately kind of figure out, what is that one thing I keep going back to over and over again? And like, that clearly is the route I should take.
Right. And I do think that's a great thing for most of our students who do use those summers to experiment a little bit. They come back with a lot of insights and they're able to clarify themselves so that when they do take that last junior and senior year, they are focusing on internships and opportunities they're going to take them exactly where they need to be.
Are there other questions from the group that we can help to answer especially as you're looking for your student to come home potentially in the next month or so, because the spring
It's
semester
soon.
is rapidly coming to a close. So we want to be able to share any thoughts we can with you and your student. Elizabeth, in the guide, is there anything in there kind of like sample interview questions or things?
Absolutely.
I figured as much.
Oh, we're just going to keep scrolling. So you can see we've got information on networking. This can help your student think about who they do know already. If we keep scrolling. So we do have a lot of information on resumes here. So that's going to be the bulk of the middle. So I'm going to keep scrolling because I believe that interviewing comes after that. Here we go. Keep going.
A lot of resume examples.
A lot of resumes, some cover letter examples. And then we get to interviewing. So we have a lot of interview tips, things that they should be thinking about before the interview, dressing for their interview. I know I mentioned it before, but we have a career closet here at UAB. If you have a student going on an interview soon and he or she says they have nothing to wear, do not fear. Tell them to come to our office and borrow some clothes. And then it's got some questions, some answers, and some common interview questions. So you can see there's a lot.
Which I think would be a great way for family members to potentially kind of take a look at some of these and maybe utilize these questions.
Absolutely.
Let's do a mock interview, things along those lines, just so that your student can kind of start to think about, as Elizabeth talked about, how do you use these, how do you explain the leadership opportunity you've had on campus? How do you explain your skill set so that you sound like a viable candidate? There is 2 new questions that have come in. One is first and foremost, how do we tell students about these different tips and services that are available? How do we expose them to what CPD is here to do?
Well, we're definitely at new student orientation. We come into hundreds of classrooms a year, so we visit a lot of classrooms. We send emails to students about our career events and things like that, and through social media, and then also from word of mouth. We want as many students as should use us to use us. So things like having parents encourage. A lot of times students know about us, but because they're so busy, we're kind of an afterthought, right? Like they're like, oh, I don't have time for that. I have an exam. And so because we're optional, a lot of times students don't come. And that's where we definitely have faculty members and staff members, everyone in student affairs like Meredith, encouraging students to come use our services. And then family members also pointing us in the direction, pointing our students in the right direction.
Let me rephrase that there's a lot of data about student usage versus a lot of students, from my understanding, typically come right towards the end.
Come towards the end.
Right.
Absolutely. and but our students, and that's a very normal thing. That's a just-in-time mentality. And a lot of you probably experience that in some other areas of your students' lives where they're doing something, right right as it's happening or right before it's happening instead of preparing for it in the months and years before it actually happens. And so that's very typical, and that's something that we're always trying to overcome. So that's why we're in first year experience classes. Maybe your student didn't tell you, but a lot of our first year experience classes have a lot of this information in them as they're freshmen. So we're trying to make sure we're reinforcing that message from the time they get here as freshmen to the time they graduate.
I know that there has been a very specific question that's going to come in, and I will answer the one about an internship. We will get that answered back about an internship in a very specific area in a very specific field. But if students are looking, for this example, if students are looking for a very specific internship in a very specific location, is there a best practices or best way for them to come in and like utilize your services in order to figure that out?
I think the best thing would be for them to come in for a one-on-one appointment and to actually call and make that appointment. Our walk-in hours are great, but we do have, and I guess I'm going to show you since I've got the website up right now, we do have professionals who are very specific to specific majors. So as you can see, we have our main office. We also there's an office in the School of Business and one at the School of Engineering. And if you scroll down, you can see that our career advisors have assignments based on major. So what they get when they actually call or email to make an appointment is they get set up with an appointment with someone who focuses on that major. So that person, so maybe your student doesn't see an internship in their specific location, especially if it's not Birmingham or if it's not in the Southeast region. But what one of our advisors who normally advises in that industry can do is help them think about, okay, what companies are in the area that you're looking for? Let's look at those websites. Let's target those industries. Let's see how we can see what opportunities are available in the industry and in the place that you want. So the best thing to do is to come in for a one-on-one appointment. They're about 30 minutes, so your students shouldn't be stressed out that we will take a very long time.
I love this question because I think this is really fun, and I think it's really indicative of what our students are doing. And there is a question from a family member: should we be encouraging our students to create a resume and then keep updating it as they gain experience?
Yes.
Because I always get the "I know, Mom" response.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Students should be trying to add to their resume as things happen, or else they're going to forget about their accomplishments as they go through, especially if you have a student who's doing a lot of things. They should have one document, and they don't even have to make it that pretty, at least initially. If they even have one document where they're recording every single thing that they've done, they can always come in and we can help them get it formatted into something that looks very nice. But we definitely would encourage them, because sometimes they come in as seniors and then they're trying to remember what they did. And it's very hard to remember after a couple of years what actually happened and what your responsibilities were and what your accomplishments were.
If I remember correctly, for Hire a Blazer, which again is the online portal for students to find both on and off-campus jobs, even to apply for a position, they have to have a resume that has been approved.
Correct. Now, it is a very, so in order to apply to jobs through Hire Blazer, students have to upload a resume, and that resume has to go through an approval process. It is not a very strict approval process, just because we have no context at that stage for what this student is applying for. So if they're applying for a work-study position, obviously the standards for a resume in that situation is much different than applying for a very competitive internship at a Fortune 500 company. So I would encourage your students, like, even if they say, oh, my resume has been approved through Hire Blazer, that doesn't mean that it's appropriate for the situation that they are trying to get into. So coming in for a lot of, for that one-on-one, like, individualized consultation is really important.
Okay, here's one that's a little bit from a family member whose student seems to be potentially came in with some advanced credits, and so they're not going to have the potentially traditional 4-year experience.
Right.
So she is caught between, she's finishing her second year, but will be starting her senior year.
Okay, got it.
So she is feeling a little overwhelmed right now.
I can understand that.
The last thing she's wanting is advice from home. And then, so last thing do you recommend that she do before she comes back home from Birmingham for the summer?
Okay. Can you repeat the last part?
Sure. What is so she wants to know what the student self is feeling overwhelmed.
Okay.
So she doesn't want advice, and she also doesn't want advice from home.
Okay. She doesn't want advice from home.
So if there are things like general tips and suggestions that we can kind of put out there into the ether, if you would, as far as things that she should be doing before coming home for the summer.
Is this things that the family members should be doing?
I think the student.
The student should be doing.
The
Okay.
student.
So is the student planning on doing any work this summer?
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
I think just general, like she's trying to figure out the next steps.
Okay.
Because we're going into senior year without having the normal
I get it. Okay. So prior to senior year, we definitely would encourage some sort of, it says summer school and studying for the GRE. Absolutely. So that sounds like she's got a lot on her plate and that she might not be able to do some kind of internship. This would be a great opportunity for your student to have a conversation one-on-one with someone in our office to talk about what might be some other opportunities, because at this point, it looks like she's going to have great grades and a great GRE score. If she's going to graduate school, it might not be so important for her at this point to get an internship. At the same time, there might be short opportunities. Maybe she could go to a conference that's related to her field or get involved in a young professional organization that's related to her field that won't take as much time, but will still start to grow a network, because that's going to be important no matter what. It's starting to grow some kind of network. So I would definitely recommend that. But that's so specific of a question. I would still say encourage your student to call our office and make an appointment and talk to a professional staff member if she's, open to that suggestion.
There's a family member that asked about exploring study abroad assignments and opportunities, but then also I think the other part of that question is do employers really find that to be a valued experience, the idea of studying abroad?
Absolutely. And again, this is going to be about how relevant it is to what your student is wanting to do. And I would say that in this day and age, having any sort of multicultural or global experience, this is a world that is rapidly globalizing, and having experiences with different languages and different cultures and being able to navigate different situations. And one thing that study abroad does for a lot of our students is they gain a lot of independence and a lot of self-initiative. They have to deal with a lot of things and take on a lot of things themselves. So there are students that are gaining incredible experiences through study abroad. It is about, again, how does that student translate that experience for an employer? And talking about how they learned how to navigate ambiguity and difficult situations and relationships with people who weren't like them at all, are all great things in the workplace. So I would say, if that is something that your student is very interested in, it is definitely something, as long as they go and they really do immerse themselves in the culture. And sometimes our study abroad students just kind of hang out with a bunch of students from their college already, right? So if they're going to do it, they really need to go in there and get all the experiences that they can so they can tell those vivid stories for employers. I think we've got some more questions.
We do. One, I was going to see, we're going to, about possibly, and we've gotten some questions about types of jobs that are out there and everything, so we're going to, I think Elizabeth's going to log us into Hire a Blazer.
I'm going to try. It's going to look
a little bit different. But
it's going to look different because I'm going to log in as an admin, but then I'm going to show you what your student sees.
So this way you can kind of see this idea of what the various job opportunities that are out there, because it does, if I, again, not mistaken, Hire a Blazer. So for I put jobs out there for student employees, and all of our student employee opportunities go through Hire a Blazer, or we're starting to move to pretty much all campus jobs are there. So there's a lot of opportunity that way, but then I know it's also external ones as well, so that way you can see a little bit about what this looks like.
So ignore all this. None of your students see this. I'm going to show you the student view right now. Okay, so as you can see, this is what your student sees when they go into Hire a Blazer. And the simplest way for your student to navigate this would be just to start scrolling. So this is the easiest thing. A lot of students, when they come in, this scroll right here is going to give them a demonstration of different events. So we have an education career fair. And then we're going to have a mixer for the Collat School of Business. And it looks like your business students are going to learn things about talking to companies and networking, that sort of thing. Then we're going to have, that's going to start scrolling, and you're going to start seeing different kinds of jobs, right? And this is, look, we have Pathfinder, off-campus student services. There's going to be a lot of different things. If a student is just interested in looking at the jobs, they can go over here and do keyword search, right? Or they can just click internships, right? And then you can start scrolling through and seeing all the different internships that are in the job inside this system. So as you can see, they're kind of all over the place. We've got social media, we've got working with teens with disabilities, we've got NASA, pathways, internships for engineers. So it's going to depend on what your student is looking for. We also have some great tools. Let me go back to the beginning here. Just going back to the main page. And if you go to the career tools over here, you can see these are a bunch of career tools. We've got some assessments. Your student can take some assessments. It'll say, oh, it'll suggest industries based on their personality, things like that. And these are a bunch of different tools. What can I do with this major? We'll help them work through some things. I love this tool. I always show it off. So if you've got an art major, then your student can click on a different major and see what kind of opportunities are available for students with that major. So we've got so many tools and so many different opportunities. Oh. So as you can see, it'll tell you what kind of employers, areas, strategies. So this is another way to help students make a career plan. Okay, so this is the main thing. Any questions?
What about utilizing kind of sometimes I know internships or things can pop up through a particular department,
Absolutely.
area of study, things along those lines.
Absolutely.
How does that work?
So every single department, there are some departments that require internships and some departments that don't. So a lot of times if your student is in a particular academic department that requires an internship, they have to go through the internship coordinator at that department to make sure that that internship complies with the academic requirements. So for example, I know in the School of Health Professions, for healthcare management, there's an internship process. Some of those jobs, sometimes if your student finds an opportunity at Hire Blazer and wants to use that as their academic internship, they can take that opportunity to their academic department and the academic department can approve it to be used as that. But every single department has a little bit different rules. So for paid internships that are in Hire Blazer, it's a free-for-all. Apply for them. If they get them, it's fantastic. But for anything your student wants academic credit for, they do have to correspond and go through the process to get that approved through their academic department.
I think so that's all the major questions I've seen so far. Are there any other questions that we can help answer for everyone? I know that Elizabeth has covered a lot of the different tools and resources, which has been really helpful and great. And there's some really good information that she's provided. I think the biggest takeaway that I've definitely heard so far is, again, just per always sharing with your students that the Office of Career and Professional Development exists.
Yes.
First and foremost.
We're here.
We tell them this all the time. But again, ways that you can reinforce and reshare. Here is a question that just came in. If there are no internships or shadowing opportunities that the student is interested listed on the site, will your student, if there's things not on Hire Blazer, can your office help?
Absolutely.
Find other things?
Absolutely. It definitely, they should come in. Not every single job in the world is on Hire Blazer. But we do help students navigate other sites. We do help students use things like LinkedIn to target companies that they're interested in and to see if there are opportunities there. So we can give students a lot of their own tools to find the jobs and internships that they want.
Great. Well, I think that's kind of the big thing is just, that you are there to do a lot of, to help them in any way, shape, form, or fashion. that your student could possibly need, and the earlier they use it, the better off they are. Their office is also located in our Hill Student Center, so it's right smack in the middle of campus. It's right in the middle of the hubbub of everything going on, and so I think that that's just the biggest thing to make sure that your student knows and utilizes, but that you as a family still are obviously going to play a really big part in this, and so do those fun mock interviews, do those, make sure that they know that there's opportunities out there and where do they find them, anything along those lines. I think that would be, because our goal, as much as it is yours, is to make sure that we get your student on to that next step and we help them find, even getting into the next step, if it's medical school or professional programs or other things along those lines.
Yeah, and definitely we do help students prepare for professional school and graduate school also. So if you have a student who wants to be a doctor, as many of our students here at UAB do, we have people in our office who help them with their MMI interviews and that sort of thing too. So just keep sending them our way.
And this main contact number that's up right now is the number that they would call for appointments or anything along those lines.
That is the main number.
Great.
Any tips? I don't know. I just saw there's a question that said, any tips on getting them to not say like? I would say get them to record themselves. Do a mock interview and have them record their answers, and then have them count how many times they say like or how many times they say A lot of times it is just a tick that students are not aware of. There is a tool inside HireBlazer where I showed you where the assessments are called Interview Stream, and students can use that tool to record themselves. But these days, students can record themselves with their phones. So if you ask them a question and then get them to answer it and have it recorded and then count how many, sometimes that'll help.
You can also, this is going to sound super cheesy on this, but I used to do it with my student leaders, is that we would end up kind of creating a game, and so within the family environment you could do it, but you could pull topic areas, and you have to talk, and it can be really funny topic areas, and you have them talk for a set period of time, but as soon as they say the first then you have to stop and start over again, or you're out, or things along those lines. And it is a great way for them to start to, the biggest thing is to just start pointing it out, not necessarily in a nagging way, but about this idea so that you can start to hear yourself say that.
Right.
That I think is the biggest thing that I found success. And I was doing this to prepare students to be able to do large public speaking events. So, and that was the first where we started.
That's a great tip. That's a great tip. Normally when students come into our office, it's because they have an interview like very immediately. And so that's a tool that we use, just record it, play it back. But that's a fun way Meredith's idea is a fun way to reinforce it on a daily basis.
That's just something that we used to use for student things. So it was a great way because they do. And as Elizabeth said, it is just a tick. So,
yeah.
Which can be unlearned. So, but if there are any other questions, I will tell you that we have been recording this presentation, and so it will be posted up on the Parent and Families Services website. It's going to take us just about a week to get it up there, but it will be available to you all, and I will make sure to email it out as soon as let everyone know that it is out on the website for your review if you want to go back and reference anything. There again is also all their contact information, and then Parent and Family Services is always here and available for you at any point in time that we can possibly help with. But I think if there is no additional questions at this point, then I'm going to go ahead and say thank you so much for spending a chunk of your afternoon with us on this Thursday. I hope that everybody's weather is going well. It's about to start storming here, so make sure your student has an umbrella with them today.
Yes. Umbrellas are necessary.
And otherwise, we will talk to you all soon, and please and have a wonderful weekend ahead. And thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.